Hey, what's up, Aquarius? Welcome back to this timeless general tarot reading. As per the usual, all typical disclaimers are assumed, and all non-typical disclaimers are asserted. I'm not responsible for you taking this information and misapplying it to your situation if it is not meant for you. With that being said, I will also let you know that there are timestamps below for fast forwarding to certain card drops, as I discussed in the last video, in your last reading, or actually, I might not have discussed it in your last reading. I might not have started mentioning it until a few videos later, but for stipulation's sake, I do not prefer drawing cards off the top. It is not my style of reading. I really prefer to let the cards fall out of the deck or flip out or stick out pretty severely. I'm not a fan of just drawing cards off the top. There are other readers it works for. Just watched a read last night where a reader does that, and not only do they do that, but they do it successfully. They do it in a way that resonates well. So it's not that it doesn't work for everyone, but it's not my own personal notion. It feels a little hasty to me. So, if you don't wish to continue listening to me ramble on about this and that or whatever, before I get a card to drop for you, then please feel free to take a look at the timestamp to get to the first drop. I'll also stipulate now on that note then that another thing is that something that has been happening for more of my readings than not is that it often takes a while to build up the momentum of the reading. Therefore, unfortunately, it's not the greatest marketing situation to be in, but the interesting parts of the readings are tending to come out closer to the end once a lot of the clarity has been established. Therefore, typically, okay, so before I was even able to finish explaining that, I actually got the cards to drop out. So before I go to these cards, I will finish what I was saying. And to be honest with you, I've kind of forgotten now what the heck I was even talking about, so maybe it's not that important. Okay, I was explaining to you that once there's times where it takes a while to get cards and it isn't clear exactly what the cards mean, or the full message of the cards hasn't revealed yet. So even though I can speculate on a couple cards, typically what's happening is I need to get it to a certain point of clarification where something that makes sense, makes proper sense, is actually rolling through. Typically that happens near the final cards. Usually what happens is once the last card or two comes out, the clarity is established, and once that happens, I can get to a good point where I can conclude the reading. So if you're trying to get to the meat and potatoes of the read, typically a good place to go is the final timestamp. And that is where you can find what the message is really all about, which is typically what the title is reflecting. It's reflecting that final message that is coming through with proper clarity. So, seeing as how we are all new to doing this, and seeing as how this is only my second Aquarius video, I'm feeling it necessary to just make sure that viewers understand where the video is going to sort of wear on their patience. So I'm just letting you know all of that stuff in front so I don't waste your time. Alright. So I'm not really getting anything else to drop here for you. You are definitely going to... Okay, so I'm going to start reading these cards now that I think I've stipulated everything I need to. So I'm going to keep shuffling, but I'm going to kind of read what's going on here. You're going to be disappointed. Something is not going to go your way. Perhaps you had plans of travel. Perhaps you had some kind of plans of taking action to some degree, but those plans are going to fall through and you're not going to feel good about it. You're going to be in disappointment over whatever this disappointment is. And to be more specific, I'm not sure exactly what it is. This card, the Three of Wands in reverse typically, or excuse me, the Three of Wands in reverse typically has a lot to do with traveling. But that's like in the material sense. In the more energetic sense, it is about your foresight and sort of your outlook. It's about it's about the wands accumulating, not so much about you getting stuck on like how many wands you have. And that requires a certain foresight. That requires a certain outlook. It requires you to be seeking for the next step. So it's not just about physical relocation or physical travel. It has that connotation, but the energy isn't necessarily just about that. So it's not exactly that you will be being disappointed because your flight's canceled or something like that, but that's an option here. There's something else you could be disappointed about in a more general sense. You are disappointed about something else falling through like that. So it's not just that a flight could be canceled, it's something else could be canceled. It could be like it could be something that just in general that matters to you. For some reason though, the idea of it being like a flight canceled or like a vacation canceled does kind of stick, because that's kind of what your anticipation from the Three of Wands would be. Something like that. It makes sense. Your vacation, or some kind of trip that means something to you, and if it gets canceled, it's gonna make you feel bad. It's undeniable. Whatever it is, though, it's the bottom line here is it's insinuating that something you were anticipating is going to bring you some emotional sorrow. And typically that's because whatever mentalism, whatever your anticipation was that you built up wasn't delivered for you. So making it specifically about travel or vacation or traveling abroad, kind of things like that, puts that into a box. So I'm trying to expand upon it to say that it doesn't just have to be foreign travel. Like it's about you being disappointed is what this combination is, which isn't boding well for you from the beginning, or it's never fun to hear that. So I apologize. I'm at 6 minutes and I haven't had anything else to draw besides for those two cards, which happens. Which is why I offer you the timestamps to skip along here. I'm not really getting anything. I'm not getting anything else clear for you at the moment. Got these two cards slipping out. So man, there's actually been a lot of people getting this card. Trying to consider which order I should put it in. Okay, so Knight of Cups reversed. Man. Five of Swords reversed. So even though this is in the upright, it kind of connotates a negative energy. So like, unfortunately for you, Aquarius, you have drawn up the negatives here. And I'm sorry to say that because there are a lot of ways to get stuck in these energies. So kind of part of what this is insinuating is that whatever falls through for you, you're not just going to feel bad about it, you're going to be getting bitter about it. You're not, this isn't a sign that you're bouncing back out of this disappointment. It's a sign that you're going to be taking it personal, and that you're going to be channeling these energies to more or less take it out on other people. Is the easy way to, it's just kind of straightforward. It's about taking out your emotions, your toxic emotions, and typically that comes out on other people. So maybe there's instances where you can take it out on material things, but and then technically, because you have the Five of Swords reversed, that's even another sign of it, because the Five of Swords reversed is symbolizing people leaving you behind. So there's a small insinuation here that whatever this is, it is not like, unfortunately, and this is a critical way to say this, but it was your fault. And because it was your fault, you are not validated in treating other people this way. And in this instance, they are leaving you behind for their own good. And you're the one who is on the path that is not righteous. So I don't know what this disappointment was. I understand that it made you hurt, but the bitterness overflowing onto other people is not going to, they're not going to appreciate that. So there's a certain element of fairness here where the universe is happy these people are leaving you behind because they are seeing more clearly. They're actually, in this instance, taking the more healthy route. When the Five of Swords is in the upright, for whatever reason you have pushed into this difficult path, for whatever reason you are standing your ground and trying to move forward, in the upright, these people they're not strong enough to follow you. They don't have the fortitude to make the difference. So you are the one who is more in the right on this one, because you can see the path forward clearly. When it's in the reverse, though, you are the one who is not seeing the path forward clearly. So these people are validated in their choice here. So it's a sign of people leaving you behind. It's a sign of people, to a certain extent in this context, it is a sign of the path you are on not being worthy. It's not a sign of a worthy path. And Spirit is comfortable with you losing people along the way for their own sake, so they don't have to be stuck in these energies. Okay, so lucky for you, you have a good. You have some sign of life here. I'm not exactly sure though, I'm not sure. It's kind of interesting here. I'm not without more specifics. It is kind of tricky to tell just what exactly the cards are referring to, but it's, topically speaking, it's asking you to, or it's sort of what it's suggesting here is that you're not providing the right balance of energy, or at this point you're not balancing your energies properly. And it's not that you're not balancing your energy, but you're neglecting one energy for the sake of pushing a different energy. But the problem is those energies have to work together. So if you neglect one, no matter how hard you push and torrent and work with the other one, it is next to useless because you've got to have this other energy too. Barely doing any of this with a step of this is more powerful than doing tons and tons and tons of pushing with this energy. And just to clarify, I'm not actually pointing at the cards. I'm trying to use my hands to signify the energy. So my bad. I might have misinsinuated what I meant there. But I think I got the point across. It's like this essentially kind of what this card is suggesting is you're trying to make H2O with a million H but 0 O. And in that instance, it doesn't matter how much more H you put into the mix. You're not getting anywhere. You're not going to get anywhere. And that can suck because, you know, especially if you're putting a ton of effort in to make that difference. You're missing a necessary balance. Having 10 oxygen would get you further than having 10 million hydrogen alone. So that's sort of what this card is signifying, is having that balance. So that's interesting because if it was in the reverse, it would signify that you are out of that balance, that you've found yourself in the imbalance. But in this instance, it's actually half suggesting to you that you have the capacity to find that balance, to rebalance, forcing all of this negative energy. It can also, to a certain extent, be like rebalancing your expectations about whatever this disappointment was. So maybe you're just being unreasonable about your part to play in this disappointment. And if you just kind of took a second to consider your part in it as well, you might actually be able to find a reasonable outlook for dislodging this negative energy. That's kind of what I'm getting from this. And it luckily bodes good for you because at first it was like, this is all negative. There's really no other way to slice this. But this is at least giving you the opportunity to, like if it was here, then I would be pleading with you to try and change your ways about not being open to change. But luckily it's in the upright, which means it bodes well. It's saying that you're open to this kind of the solution here. Or what would you're open to what would actually pull you up from this energy. And it's finding some kind of balance, which I'm not clear on exactly, like more specifically what that is. Like, are you balancing this or this or this? I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. I understand what it's insinuating. I understand where it's coming from. And you're in a fortunate position because it's, like I said, it's not suggesting that you are gonna get stuck in the imbalance. It is suggesting that you can rebalance yourself. So I'm actually wondering if there's a clarity of confirmation on you actually managing to get through with that. And to a certain extent, yes, there is. Okay. So it's another confirmation that it's another confirmation that you have the capacity to pull up out of this. So maybe you have to lose these people first to kind of understand what I'm saying here. Or if you've got the proper wisdom, you could in fact pull up before this happens. You have that potential here. It's going to happen for you one way or the other. It'd be nice if you could overcome this bitterness before you've lost people. But sometimes we've got to get jostled. This is speaking well for your ability to retrospect to retroflect yourself and to notice where you're erroring. It is a good sign that you are not stuck in like a toxic personality that is just gonna, that actually thrives here, not just is kind of stuck there due to some sorrow. Like, it bodes well for your character that you are actually open to being better than this, even though it's gonna hurt. So, okay, so I guess I should clarify, the Four of Cups in reverse is simply getting over the sorrow. That's actually basically what it is. Like, and it's weird how the chronology works, where it goes from the 4 to the 5. So it goes from upright Four of Cups, which is like you're feeling like emotionally displaced, to the Four of Cups in reverse, which is you are getting over that displacement, but then the Five of Cups is back to sorrow, which is interesting. And then the Five of Cups reversed is getting over that sorrow. So it's kind of weird how those cards chronologize like that. But there's also like, this is a much deeper sorrow. This can be a much deeper sorrow than this. This is more of an apathy, whereas this is like a dense sorrow to a certain extent. Still though, to be in, just to give a more generalized impression though, it is about overcoming emotional hang-ups, emotional dissatisfaction, which is where you're at here, which is with all this. And it simply confirms that, it once again confirms that you aren't going to get stuck here, which is very good to see, because that means that you are seeing something better. You're achieving some kind of balance that is necessary, and that is something that's actually, it's going to help you overcome this feeling bad about whatever this was. So, I mean, that's about, I think that's actually about it for this reading. There's not much more I could do except for maybe clarify this a little bit. It's a very straightforward, solid reading on not allowing disappointment to keep getting you down and taking away your better self. It's about getting over that. I'm not sure exactly what that balance is for you. I know, like, for me personally, it can be maybe too much mental, trying to force too much mentally and not focusing kind of on emotionality as much, which in this instance is kind of the opposite for you. Perhaps you've kind of stopped having any rationality due to this disappointment, and you're like overemphasizing your sorrowful feeling. But that also means that the quality of your mentalism is dashed here, which is why you'll have consequences. But, or possibly you could have if that were the scenario, if that's the scenario for you, then that's part of what this could be suggesting, is to pull out of the purely emotional based driving of what you're up to. And that's sort of what this is suggesting. It's also sort of what this is suggesting, is not, it's getting over that emotional block. So I think I'm going to call it for now. It seems clear enough, and it wound up on a high note. So good, thank goodness for you, because it was starting off at a negative point. But I love it when the reading turns around like that. So I'm actually going to call it for you, Aquarius. That seems pretty straightforward to me. So thank you for checking this out, and take care. I'll see you later.